I've been talking a lot lately about how Candace Owens has been going viral. And that makes sense. Her best friend, a very public friendship, mind you, just got assassinated a month ago. Charlie Kirk. Well, actually, we're not even a month out from his assassination, really. It's not even been a month. But he got shot in the neck while giving a big speech at Kent State University. And a lot of conspiracies have come out of it. I am inclined to believe some of them, and much more inclined to not believe others. Notably, TPUSA's official story is that Charlie Kirk had superhuman levels of muscle and bone density that stopped a .30-06 round in its tracks, causing there to be no exit wound from the back of his neck, which supposedly would have hurt many more people by passing through them and, person would have passed through a bunch of people and killed them. But Charlie Kirk's neck and spine are so superhumanly powerful, according to TPUSA's claim that the doctor made. So according to the doctor, according to TPUSA, he was so superhuman, he stopped the 30-06 in his neck. Now, if you watch videos of deer or buck or anything big getting shot with a 30-06, that shit blasts through, man. It's like something out of a cartoon or a video game, all right? It's like when a character gets gibbed, all right? That shit blasts out the other side. The idea that Charlie Kirk's neck stopped a 30-06, I'll believe that when pigs fly, okay? Obviously, I don't believe that claim. Some other conspiracies, though, like maybe Israel did it. I don't know if I'm fully on board with believing that. The claims that it's true are very circumstantial bits of evidence, like, maybe if I want to believe that's true, then that could be used as evidence to justify my worldview, but nothing that going in completely neutrally is all that convincing. But man, Candace has been on this screed of claiming that there is a conspiracy behind Charlie Kirk's death, and it's odd because it seems like her motives should be behind pushing the idea he was killed by some radical lefty, virtue signaling about it, being super against the left about it, using this as an opportunity to weaponize his death against the left like the rest of the right is doing. Instead, she has been very clearly calling out Trump, TPUSA, Erica Kirk, and all the others with the idea that they're hiding something. They are complicit in some way, and there's something going on. And we've been watching a couple of Candace Owens videos on this, theorizing whether or not she might actually be onto something. My overall conclusion is she's probably not, that she's genuinely just milking this. But my big question has been, why, though? Like, she could milk this so much more effectively, I feel, if she was demonizing the left for this like everyone else is. She's a very large figure, top of the niche when it comes to right-wing grifting. So why is she not pushing the same agenda everybody else is? Is there some merit to this? I don't think so. I don't think there's any merit to the idea that Israel did it or the FBI did it or anything like that. I think she's trying to distract people. I think she wants to make sure that if you look into anything to do with Candace Owens right now, you're seeing her videos about Charlie Kirk's assassination and whether or not insert new group of people are secretly behind it. And she's always suggesting new groups of people are secretly behind it. It's always switching up left and right. You would think, what's the motivation? I think I know. I think I know the motivation. It's to distract people from the fact that she is in legal trouble right now for lying. Candace Owens has always been able to get away with her lies, and boy, does she lie. But right now, she is being taken to court by the president and first lady of the country of France right now. Because over the last couple years, Candace Owens has been on an ongoing rampage, a crusade against Macron's wife, Brigitte Macron, claiming that she is secretly a trans woman, a groomer who is also a pedophile that molested Macron and groomed him into marrying her and making her first lady. She's also claimed that she groomed Macron into becoming the president and marrying her so she would be the first lady. So it was all a big master plan on the part of Brigitte Macron. They've come out publicly and obviously claimed, of course, these things being said about us aren't true. Of course they did, right? However, Candace Owens didn't let up. She's selling books about this. Candace Owens is selling several books about how Brigitte Macron is secretly a man, okay? That is the basis of her books. They're taking her to court now. And things with this court case recently, I've covered the court case. I covered it when it was happening, but no one was talking about it. Now people are talking about it. Now people are really talking about it. And the reason for that is some big developments have happened in this case. They are not exactly going Candace's way. The judge and everyone involved in this case is more or less calling out the fact that Candace is blatantly lying and engaging in a harassment campaign. And I don't think Candace Owens wants her fans knowing anything about that. I think she would rather they be fixated on her nonstop, back-to-back, day-by-day, hour-long coverage of a new group of people that maybe were behind the murder of her best friend. That said, if you are liking this video, if you end up enjoying it, please consider leaving a like and a comment down below. It really helps a ton. Hype the video and subscribe if you want to see more from me. It really does help a lot. Oh, and if you want to really make sure you get notified when you see new stuff from me, make sure you check your sub notifications every once in a while, like your sub feed rather than your main homepage on YouTube. Your sub feed is genuinely where you should be looking for most of the content you want to watch, because that's where your subs' actual videos show up, like where people you sub to. That's the feed where their stuff shows up, not your homepage. Anyway, that aside, let's get right into it without any more further ado. By the way, if you watch this far in the video, comment down below 6-7. Do it. Full-on brain rot meme. Comment down below 6-7. Let's watch.
The trial for 10 people accused of cyberbullying French President Emmanuel Macron's wife,
10.
Brigitte Macron, began in Paris on Monday. Prosecutors allege the defendants made defamatory claims against Macron online, peddling conspiracy theories about her gender and sexuality, as well.
Mind you, this isn't random, okay? Brigitte Macron being the target of their ire is not random. She's obviously the wife, so a woman, the wife of a powerful man who is left-leaning compared to the far right, so they hate him, and they especially want to attack his wife, putting him in a situation where, as her partner, he's powerless to protect her from a torrent of abusers and attackers that are targeting her. But the goal is to more or less create an air of negativity around somebody like Brigitte and, I can't remember the first name of the president of France right now. I can't remember his first name. They want to build such a bubble of negativity around the Macrons that people can't not think of their family and without thinking of the whole scandal. And maybe the scandal has something to it. Who knows?
Line, peddling conspiracy theories about her gender and sexuality, as well as describing the 24-year age gap between her and her husband as, quote, pedophilia. The criminal trial set to take place this week stems from a 2024 filing from Brigitte.
Like, they're outright trying to slander her as a pedophile, dude. There's never been a more blatantly dishonest, bad faith, mean-spirited campaign of harassment that I've seen. And it is wild that Candace Owens is so blatantly, clearly using the death of her actual best friend to get out of the social and social media consequences of how poorly she is doing in her defense in this case.
Macron, separate from the US-based suit against right-wing podcaster Candace Owens, which was filed in July. The couple has been afflicted.
They first started dating when he was 15. That is right-wing misinformation. They met when he was 15. He was his teacher, or she was his teacher, and he was a student. And later on in life, they would end up dating and getting married. Which, I don't think that alone is evidence of grooming. The fact that they originally met when he was underage and she wasn't. He's very well into being an adult. They're clearly in a very happy, committed marriage. I don't think that some kind of grooming or abuse took place. He's the world's most, not the world's most powerful man. He's the most powerful man in the country. I think if his wife was secretly an abuser pedophile who was grooming him, he'd have done something about that by now.
For years since Emmanuel Macron's presidential win in 2017 by unsubstantiated conspiracy theories being spread online, claiming Brigitte is a transgender woman and was initially born a man named Jean-Michel Trogneux, which is the name of Brigitte's brother. Of the 10 people accused in France...
Are they actually doing the thing where they claim, wait, have you ever seen Brigitte and her brother in the same room before? Have they ever been in the same room together? In the same place at the same time? They must be the same person. I'm sure they have been photographed together too, which would make it all the better.
Of online harassment against Brigitte, 2 women, self-described independent journalist Natasha Ray and online fortune teller Amandine Roy, were originally sued by Brigitte and
like scammers and grifters of all kinds. Fortune tellers, right-wing pundits like Candace Owens, authors trying to make a quick buck. Everybody has jumped on board with this grift.
her brother in 2024. The duo were found guilty of slander against the French president's wife, but then appealed and were acquitted in July of this year. After the court ruled their comments did not constitute defamation, Brigitte and her brother have now taken their cases against the women to the country's highest appeals court. Among the other 8 male defendants are an elected official, a teacher, a computer scientist, and a 41-year-old advertiser known by his online moniker Zoe Sagan. They could face 2 years in prison if convicted. Across the Atlantic, conspiracy-spewing podcaster Candace Owens doubled down on her comments about the French First Lady in July, after she was slapped with a defamation lawsuit by the Macrons.
You were born a man and you will die a man. That's the point.
So fucking mean, dude. Like, I know I sound so cringe saying this, but like, these people are just so mean, aren't they? Like, being mean on its face isn't a bad thing. I find it so interesting how even when they're winning culturally and electorally, that doesn't make them happy. It makes them angrier, more bitter and resentful of the left. In fact, they gain the most satisfaction out of turning up the cruelty against the left when the left is already down, you know? You'd think they'd be the most angry and mean when they're out of power, but now that they're in power, they're really leaning into the, you know, kicking sand into the person's eyes while they're already on the ground kind of vibe, you know? I really do think that a lot of people who gravitate towards these types of politics are cruel. Like, they're just cruel people. They like cruelty. They find cruelty funny, entertaining, and endearing or relatable. And it might just be a stage in their life. Young people are notably more cruel than people as they get older. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of cruel old people. I'm not claiming there aren't. But people do tend to mellow out a bit as they get older. Like, being a teenager and even a young adult tends to be where you're, like, you get the most laughs out of other people's misfortune. And as you get older, you start to laugh a little less when bad things happen to other people, because you're like, man, I fully understand the long-term consequences of that bad thing. And now I'm imagining, what if I had to deal with it? And now I just feel bad. You know, that's not the kind of thought process the kind of people who watch Candace Owens have. And I think, I'm going to say it, I think it's an age thing more than it's a politics thing. I think a lot of the right wing online right now are kids that are going to grow out of this shit sooner than later, hopefully.
And I'm making. So give us a sample. I'll send my doctors to take your blood, figure it out real quick, however you want to go about this. Hey, how about just giving us some pictures again of you growing up, raising your children? That would be fine.
In January, Owens ran an 8-part podcast series in which she made the wild claims about the couple, who met when Brigitte was the future French leader's school teacher in 1993. She was 39 and he was 15 at the time. I believe that Emmanuel Macron is a
lot of people claim they started dating then, and like there's no evidence whatsoever that they were in any kind of a like non-professional relationship during that time. Like, it's definitely odd to end up marrying your teacher once you're an adult. Like, it's definitely not a usual thing. It's odd that the president has a story like that, for sure. But I don't think if you knew a couple and they told you, like, crazy story, we met once, he was 15, I was 32, I was his teacher, you know, he, like, years go by, we meet again and we're both adults and we hit it off. Like, I don't know. It's about the power imbalance. What power imbalance? Hold on, what year do you think it is, dog? What year do you think? It's 2025, dog. It's not 2020. There's no discourse that happens anymore. What are you talking about, power imbalances? What are you talking about? The biggest streamer on YouTube right now is a rapist, okay? Or not a rapist, but he was trying to meet up with some underage girls at TwitchCon, okay? Like, we are not in an era where people are talking or making a big deal about power imbalance in a relationship between two consenting adults anymore, okay? That is not the time that we are in anymore. Two consenting adults in a relationship having a power imbalance because of an age gap is not where people are right now online. Like, you're digging up an argument that just doesn't fly anymore. Not that it doesn't fly, it just nobody is moved by it anymore. You know, like, they're both adults. They're well into their adulthoods, by the way. No one is going to say, oh, but because she's so, like, she's 20-something years older than him, there's a power imbalance. He is the president of the country. He is the most powerful man in the country she lives in, okay? I think that balances out a little bit.
Sexual man that was groomed from his youth, Owen said in one of the episodes. I believe the individual who groomed him is now his wife. I believe his wife was born Jean-Michel Trogneux and transitioned in his early 30s, and I believe that the entire state is colluding to protect that secret, she said.
The I believe over and over again is deliberate. It's there specifically so she can try and avoid lawsuits, as you can all probably imagine.
Owens is no stranger to controversy. She has repeatedly courted outrage with anti-Semitic remarks, minimizing Hitler's ambitions, as well as defending Kanye West's social media posts. She has also amplified a grab bag of conspiracy theories, such as questioning the moon landing and promoting COVID-19 vaccine misinformation.
She also unironically believes that dinosaurs are fake and gay. Fake and gay dinosaurs are. Fake and gay. That is her claim. Silly, silly stuff. Very silly stuff. But you know what's crazy about this? The story continuing to develop. What's so crazy about it is that even Philip DeFranco is talking about it now. Unbelievable, bro. Holy crap. We got Philly D covering this story. And
What?
by the looks of things, I've not watched this yet. I'm going into Philly D's coverage of this story completely blind. I've been pretty happy with his news coverage lately. I've had one criticism of Philly D's news reporting in all my years watching him, and that mistake of his was in 2019 that I took issue with. I'm so over it. He has since proved himself to be one of the most diligent and truth-seeking, but unironically, creators out there. I trust him. I love Philip DeFranco. I forgot about him. You forgot about Philly? Oh, I will say, Philly D's channel is dealing with the same thing mine is right now, with like the reduced proportional viewership. Like, his videos typically would pull somewhere in the 1 to 2 million view range normally. Right now they're pulling like max 500, 600,000 views, and then they just die off. Like, I have an add-on that lets me see how many views per hour his videos get. His upload from yesterday, or from a couple days ago, is down to only pulling like 300 views per hour. So it's not getting like any more viewership after a few days. Granted, it's news content, but man, I remember Philly D's content pulling more consistent viewership over time, and that same pattern is more or less what my channel's seeing, but I'm smaller, so it's more detrimental. So there are a lot of channels, including Philly D, and he's talked about it, that are getting hit with that YouTube discoverability limiting that's happening right now. So, you know, if you like my stuff and want to help me to fight against YouTube's suppression, then drop a like, drop a hype. You know, it helps. It does. Let's see what Philly D had to say about this, though.
Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. You daily dive into the news. It is Tuesday, and there is a lot to talk about, starting with this. You've got big Candace Owens, Brigitte Macron news. But also, I'll say it's bigger than Owens, because right now you have 10 people in France on trial for harassing Brigitte Macron with debunked conspiracies that say she's transgender. Right? Brigitte, she's the first lady of France. We've talked about these conspiracies before, and that's largely because Candace Owens just kind of exploded the reach of these claims recently. But even though Candace might be one of the most vocal personalities on this, like, she's not the first person to spread this theory. And with that, back in 2024, Brigitte's lawyer filed complaints over cyberbullying, which eventually led to multiple arrests in 2025. And so now you've got nearly a dozen.
If I'm not mistaken, in several European countries, cyberbullying is a crime. Like, a literal, written in the law, cyberbullying is considered a form of harassment. And I do think it should be. You know, if you were to, like, go to some adult's house, or if you were to wait outside on the sidewalk, the public sidewalk, of, like, a random adult man's house, every time he leaves the house, you're, like, screaming insults at him. You follow him to the store, walk behind him while he's going through the store, calling him insults and mean names and stuff, and then followed him home to do the same until he goes back in his house, but never encroach on his private property such that it could break the law. Like, if you did that in real, like, that kind of law, if you did that in real life, I'm pretty sure that's a crime at a certain point. I think at a certain point that would be considered a crime. The fact that online that type of behavior is considered meaningfully different is interesting. Because people on the internet harassing you aren't coming onto your personal property. They're still doing it in public, right? But stalking? Nah, stalking tends to... Well, maybe. Maybe it would count as stalking. I think, if anything, it would count as a form of harassment, more so than stalking. Because stalking tends to imply, like, a covert watching and collecting of information, you know? Like, it has a certain level of insidious covertness to it, you know? But yeah, like, this type of behavior, you could argue a case for online harassment being illegal in extreme cases, though I don't know if I want to see laws like that passed in America, because God knows how Trump and the Republicans would utilize it. Imagine Trump just starts saying everyone who has made videos about him online cyberbullied him and thus broke the law. He'd do that. We all know he would.
People facing a 2-day trial over claims that they made regarding her gender and sexuality, as well as equating the age gap in her relationship with President Emmanuel Macron to pedophilia. And with that, you had a judge saying that these posts have deteriorated the First Lady's physical and mental health. Right? And according to reports, the accused include a self-described medium who played a major role in spreading the theory after posting a 4-hour YouTube video about the subject in 2020.
Of course, it would come from a medium, by the way. Candace Owens believes in a conspiracy theory started by a fake psychic, but she doesn't believe in dinosaurs. She believes that dinosaurs are fake and gay.
One that's along with others, including an elected official, teacher, and computer scientist. But also, reportedly, many of the accused are arguing that they were just joking about this and they don't belong in court over their remarks, with one saying, "It was just a joke. Like a lot of people, I'm asking why I'm here today. Today, you can send people to court for tweets." And another asking, "Do you need a permit in France to crack a joke?" Right? Even though this trial is just 2 days.
Dude, stating your position so confidently and then ending up in court and trying to do the, I was just joking, it was just trying to be Schrodinger's douchebag. You guys know what Schrodinger's douchebag is, right? Like, I'm sure you're familiar with Schrodinger's cat. You don't know whether the cat is alive or dead inside the box. It's in a superpositional sort of state of alive and dead at once. Because you're not observing it, you don't know. It's a 50-50 whether or not it's dead, and until it's observed, it could be either, right? And so, that idea, the Schrodinger's cat idea, similar with Schrodinger's douchebag. When they make a really strong, offensive statement, whether or not they were joking about it is determined entirely by how people react. If people react with claps and there are no negative consequences, then they were 100% serious and will take credit for that till the cows come home. But if they get taken to court, especially, you better believe they're going to immediately be acting as though they were kidding all along. It was just a joke. But up until that point, if you try to accuse them of being wrong, God help you. They'll come after you in full force.
A verdict isn't expected until later. But also understand, this is a criminal proceeding. So if they're convicted, they could go to jail for up to 2 years, right? And this is definitely not the only legal action that the Macrons have taken over these trans conspiracies. One of the reasons we've talked about it is in July, they sued Candace Owens for defamation for repeatedly claiming that Brigitte was born male. But also that hasn't stopped Candace from continuing to spread that theory, right? I mean, as recently as this weekend, she was posting more what she called evidence to back her claims on Twitter. And then actually the day the trial in Paris started, she wrote, "If it walks like a dude, talks like a dude, and is listed in the French tax registry as a dude, then it's the first dude of France." Right, so she appears to just definitely not be stopping, and the Macrons as well, they're not backing down from their fight. And in fact, with that, just last month, you had BBC News reporting that they would be presenting photographic and scientific evidence to a US court to prove that Brigitte is a woman. You had their lawyers saying,
I mean, this is, like, I don't know if I like that or not. Because I feel like it gives their nonsense so much, like, too much validity, right? Like, okay, if you guys are so concerned, here's the evidence you guys are demanding that she's really a woman. Like, really? That's the world we live in now? Where if there's a woman that the right doesn't like enough, they can just accuse them of being a man so much that they're forced to prove their gender or sex to you? Like, they've got to get blood tests and prove it in court in order to see any justice. Otherwise, they're just going to be a source of income and ridicule for a bunch of grifters online.
It is a process that she will have to subject herself to in a very public way, but she's willing to do it. She is firmly resolved to do what it takes to set the record straight. If that unpleasantness and that discomfort that she has of opening herself up in that way is what it takes to set a record straight and stop this, she 100% is ready to meet that burden. But with all that, you have some seeing this explosion of people that are believing this conspiracy theory and arguing that it speaks to larger trends and issues that we need to care about. With, for example, a professor at the University of Portsmouth in the UK saying, "These rumors are part of the broader war wars on truth that characterize
True.
much of today's political discourse, and saying they are primarily a partisan political phenomenon designed to weaken opponents and erode their legitimacy. But for now,
Yep. And the fact is, it's not about convincing the other side. It's about convincing the normies in the center that don't keep up with the news. They aren't going to fact-check some crazy claim. But God, if they see a crazy claim that seems exciting, that's getting retweeted and liked by thousands, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people in some cases, they're going to believe it right away. Like, why would so many people be on board with this if there wasn't some truth to it, right? That's the logic people use. It is. People are that dumb. They don't think for themselves. They're sheep.
now we're gonna have to wait to see what happens with this 2-day trial, as well as what happens with Candace Owens. But the next up in the news,
I really liked that. I think that I think Philly D did a really good job covering this story. I thought that was really good. He had more info in there than the news story we started with. I didn't know that they were going to be bringing in that data, that evidence, like scientific, indisputable evidence that Brigitte Macron is a woman when they get to court. I had no clue that was their plan, but apparently it is. They're going to debunk the lie very blatantly. And we all know it's a lie. We know because of the people who are claiming it that it is a lie. There would be way more people on this conspiracy besides Candace Owens and a fake psychic than the people who, like, there'd be more people on it. There'd be more people on it. There just would be. This is clearly a nothing burger of a conspiracy. She is not secretly a trans woman, okay? That's obviously not the case. And she is now, I should say, Candace Owens is now facing some pretty real legal consequences for lying and making money off of those lies. She might have said, I believe a million times. That doesn't fucking matter. She has made these claims definitively, as if they are truth, and she refuses, absolutely refuses to back down off these claims. Anyway, folks, you know what to do if you enjoyed this video. Leave a like, leave a hype, subscribe, it really helps a lot, and comment down below. I appreciate it. Comment 6-7, like I said, if you watch this far. Thank you for watching.